Oh, just me pouring some liquor. Lila, what did you do to me? What did you
What?
do to me?
You made me. You dropped me out. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. We have missed you guys.
There's
2 weeks.
two
Yes.
whole weeks. I didn't know what to do. I was starting to talk politics with people that are sick of hearing my politics.
Yeah, definitely. That didn't work out well for me in Tucson, Arizona, but
Oh
I
yeah, that's
definitely
right.
didn't stop drinking. But happy to be here with everybody back again,
Tell,
drinking together.
absolutely good to see everyone. How was your trip? Tell me all about it.
Well, I will tell you all about it. As I mentioned, I think before, my older son Asher, who plays baseball at college, at Carleton College in Minnesota, was going to a 10-day long college tournament. Super exciting. He did really well his freshman year. He's now a sophomore. Very first game, last out, they send him to steal second. He slides in and dislocates his shoulder. And that was the last of his playing time for the next 10 days. He's doing fine. He's in rehab. They think he's going to be back probably mid next week. So he's not missing out on that many games, but it was
that fast.
really
Okay,
sad.
good.
Yeah, luckily it was crazy. There was an ER doctor in the stands and he came down and popped his shoulder back in, which, I'm so grateful that he did that. Could have resulted anyway, no matter where, but in a tear or a break. And he did a great job, didn't do either. And so he just had to keep it in a sling. And yeah, anyway, it was really a bummer. The other thing, which was really interesting, was it was my first time being in a situation where repeatedly I was expected to be indoors without a mask. And it was, I am embarrassed to say there were 2 evenings where I did not hold fast to my normal rule. Out of the 10, it was a really strange thing. And I realized how privileged I've been for 3 years, mostly to not be put in a situation where, you're with 40 people and I'm like, can we all just sit outside? And it was like 40 degrees and the wind was blowing. And I did that many times, and twice nobody wanted to do it with me. And I caved. So that sucks. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but I think it's important for me to know and remind myself again how difficult it is for anybody who wants to remain safe in this country to do it, because everything is working against you. I did use that nose spray 3 times a day with the Caragene or something. And I masked everywhere else. I tried to be next to windows and doors, but it's really hard to be one person fighting against the system, as we all know.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, when people were locked down, when people first started going out and pretending the pandemic was over, that happened to me once or twice where I just went with it because like the group went to lunch and it's just like, oh, whatever, you just do it. I look around and say, well, this isn't the worst place I could be. But now I'm just like, no,
I know.
No, I won't do it. So
I know. I thought I was stronger. I think a little bit also it's like I could have just said no and then gone away and not been with my kid, because of course he's doing it, because when you're in college, they all think it's over. I don't know. It's a good lesson to me. I need to reevaluate some stuff in my, what I thought was my fortitude.
Right. You can't blame everybody who's not complying. It's just some people have made their decision and it's done. And there's so much pressure to be normal and go do things. But
a lot of people, like, they just had COVID, so they're like, I'm good for a while. I'm sorry. I'm looking at all of your comments and I can't read fast enough, both because I'm old. I don't have my readers on. That's both, but I have more to list because I've already had one whole very strong drink. But I want to read everything that you guys are writing. So thank you for your sweet comments. Yeah, it is really hard. I did try to talk as much as possible about the fact that we have not been under 10,000 deaths a month for over a year now. Most people don't know that. 60% of the people dying are at least had their first round of full vaccination. And then just last week, and I know we're going to get to this, but the NIH just came out with huge studies talking about how basically COVID's airborne AIDS. And so even though I went inside, I did try to spread the word to as many people as possible, because they really are in la la land, like have no idea that this is still happening.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They're so uninformed on this stuff by design. I mean, people have no idea. So when we bring this stuff up, we sound like wacky conspiracy theorists, even when we're just pointing out like things that are coming even from the CDC in some levels.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Anyway, so that was my time away. And now I came back, and my younger son, Xander, just went off to visit Asher at college. So Josh and I have empty nest now for a couple more days. Crazy, right?
Party time.
Total party time. We are socially isolating like you've never seen a married couple do. See ya. I'm flaming. No, we were having but it is funny not to have the kids, like either kid home. But yeah, that's me. That's my time. How are you, Pat? How have you been?
I am good. I had my I'm gonna live to be 106 apparently, because I had my midlife crisis this week.
Oh, tell us. Maserati.
Yeah, I was gonna say most people buy like a Corvette or something. I bought an electric skateboard, so I've been cruising around on my electric skateboard.
Okay.
It's the poor man, generation. We can't afford the Maserati or the Corvette, so you got to live in your budget and buy a fancy skateboard.
Fancy, a little avocado toast and a skateboard. Yeah. I'd like to see pictures, or I kind of don't believe it's happening. Are you like skating around in Sacramento? What's happening there?
Yeah, I was. It's raining, so I can't right now. But this thing will go like 30 miles an hour. It's insane. It's very unsafe at this point for me. But I already bought two sets of gear. The first set I bought to be all safe. It's got a helmet that's like this big, and the elbow pads come out here. And I'm like, okay, I can't be that guy. So I immediately went and bought like the minimalist head thing, head thing, and minimal knee pads, and But
have you fallen yet?
I haven't like completely eaten shit, but I've fallen off the board at the speed slow enough to where I can just land on my feet.
Okay. All right. That's good.
But
I think if I fell once, they would have to ship me off to a hospital. I can't even imagine.
Well, the thing is, I live in the heart of Midtown Sacramento. So there's like a million things that are just like a quick little hop over to.
Right.
And particularly my gym, I have to go to my gym, and it's the parking lot for my gym is the parking lot that used to be for the mall. And so it's taking me sometimes 15 minutes in a line to get out of my gym. And I'm just,
oh my God. Yeah.
That's 15 minutes of gas for one.
Yeah.
And just your time. So I'm like, it'd be nice if I could just get on this thing and zip over there.
Well, look at you. Good for you. That sounds like a very healthy choice.
Yeah. I was just thinking about it. I'm literally Steve Buscemi in the meme. How you doing?
Fellow kids.
Hello, kids. That's me in real life. So.
All right. Well, the good news is there's barely anything to talk about.
Yeah. Well, we should show our drink.
Oh, for sure. This is a good one. And actually, I need a refill.
All right.
Are you putting it up there, or am I putting it up there?
I'm going to skip the cow video for this week.
Really? You worked so hard on it. All right.
It's too long.
All right. So this is the Zombie Left, the cocktail of the week. 3 ounces of dark rum, 1 ounce unsweetened pineapple juice, 1 ounce fresh squeezed lemon juice, 1 ounce fresh squeezed lime, 1 ounce passion fruit syrup, 1/2 ounce simple syrup, and a dash of aromatic bitters. Fill the cocktail shaker with ice and all ingredients. Shake for 10 seconds while yelling "Vote blue, no matter who." Strain into a tall glass filled with crushed ice. Garnish with a sprig of fresh mint. If Susan Sarandon tweeted today, float with 151 proof dark rum and enjoy. I love it. It's really good. I have to admit that I did make some modifications because I didn't totally have everything that was in there, but it's delicious, and I'm already done with my first one. So I'm going to get my second one ready while we
Yeah, I got to say, this is the tastiest drink we've made yet, I think.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. I like anything with, I have my modified 0 sugar passion fruit. I know, whatever. All right, what do you think? Should we get ready to hash it out?
Yeah, let's
Do you remember where all the buttons are? It's been a while.
Seriously, I've forgotten. I'm scrolling right now. Which one is it? Oh, here it is.
Hash it out. All right.
Oh, we need the wheel, don't we?
Yeah, we need the
rookie
wheel.
show here.
I know it's going to be. Hang on for a bumpy ride as we get our sea legs back, or whatever the expressions are. All right, what do we got? Economy of fail, dummies, timeline cleanse, COVID dissonance. We're the bad guys, and a more perfect union. Let's spin the wheel.
And 6 shots. Don't forget.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, after I just poured myself a new drink.
Good timing.
Let's do it. Let's do it to it. That's a great way to start a show.
Cheers to all the strikers, people still masking, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Solidarity always. Cheers.
And anyone drinking along with us or not drinking along with us, cheers.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure.
Viola, I see. Yes, I do know he's in the house. He just said it's going to be a crazy night after the show. Probably. I should take my car this way. Oh no.
Let's get right to
it. Let's get to work. Let's get to work. I'm pouring my second shot. My face is already getting red.
Hey, we haven't even talked politics. Look at that.
Cheers.
Have we? Not like we. Oh,
I did. I dropped that great news about COVID, but other than that, wait, did you already pour your shot?
No, I almost poured my passion fruit, whatever we're drinking, into my shot glass. All right.
All right. Ready? Cheers.
Oof.
Oh boy.
All right.
Okay. Let's go.
Yeah, baby.
Ow.
Okay. Best show ever. Best show ever. Here I go. I'm barely seeing straight at this point, and we're
all right.
We haven't hit a wedge.
Good night, folks.
Ask me anything. Here we go. Okay, ready?
Cheers.
I feel like you need some help up there pouring faster.
Well, I live in this small socialist apartment. Yeah. My refrigerator's 2 feet away from me, and my bar is like stuff stacked next to the desk. Like every time I move, I think I'm gonna knock things over.
I know. I liked having my little bar here, but I just didn't have enough space, so I just have my bottle. Okay. Yeah, I hope y'all ate today. That's never a fear over here. Definitely.
We are beating the odds like crazy today.
I think the system is rigged. But I also think you need to leave that one there. I don't think you should remove it, because then we're going to have nothing for the rest of the hour. Oh, but that's crazy. Shot. Okay.
It's a bold call.
You ready?
All right. I'll leave it. Just this once.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Oh. All right.
That was less fun than the first 3.
Yeah, it's getting to me. All right. Okay, I think there's something is wrong.
The wheel is broke.
That's the wheel's broken.
It's broke.
I think maybe
Remove
you're going to
it.
remove it. Okay.
But we have to, by law, take the shot, which are not full shots for the
There's-
record.
wait,
They're
but
kind
what-
of,
What number, if you
half-ish.
had to guess, would that be for me?
This is our fifth.
No way, really? Wow. Okay. Cheers.
Ugh. I'm on fruity drink. This is why we have a fruity drink.
Okay. We got to get to a topic. It's crazy.
Yeah, baby.
There we go.
All right. That would be a whole different kind of a show next time. All right, wait. Oops, I thought
That's for the
barely
Patreon
skipped.
members.
Yeah, that's when we're gonna start a tip jar. Okay. What did we just land on?
What which one's missing? Let's see. Let me see.
Okay.
Economy one. The economy. Yeah, it's the economy.
Wait, a more perfect union. We don't have the economy on there.
Because I took it off. We
Oh,
landed
because
on
that's
it.
what we landed
Yes.
on. Okay.
Riley,
Okay.
you're in trouble here. All right.
I'm so screwed. Okay, we're on the economy. Good news is, where are we on the economy? The economy. We need to stop measuring the economy by how well rich people are doing, which, people talk about all different ways of the stock market being basically just a reflection of rich people's feelings. And I know Democrats are just insisting that we're doing great and, unemployment is low. However, checking in with the real people, 66% of consumers live paycheck to paycheck. 40% are behind on bills. Near $1 trillion record level credit card debt. What happens if the economy materially slows, but prices don't decline that much?
Which we know is inevitable. I mean, this inflation is faked. It's not even real.
Yeah.
These prices, it's price gouging.
It's 100% price gouging, and no one is calling them out on it. Nixon did a better job than Biden.
And I mean, if you're looking for relief, like, it's not going to happen. They use the excuse of COVID, of container units not getting in on the ports, all this stuff. And, once those problems are alleviated, and you can't blame the ports, or you can't blame COVID, the prices never go back down. I mean, you look at Sacramento, for example, in rent, our rent is through the roof in Sacramento. And we've got more rental units now. We've built up some more, but the prices aren't going to go back down. They jacked them all up, and they never go down. They just, it's like Obamacare. They slow the increase in the cost.
Part of the reason they don't go down is because they're getting bought up by places like Blackstone, who then jack up the prices. They own everything, and they're taking from both ends of the coffers.
And that article it's not just that they're buying houses, they're buying the affordable houses. So they're making everything unaffordable.
Rental units. Yeah. Affordable housing, rental units. I know we've talked about this so many times, but I don't think there is a single state in the country where a person can afford a 2-bedroom apartment on, minimum wage is so ridiculous. Anyway, even to be talking about that. Remember when we were talking with Jordan Sheridan about the Staten Island Amazon workers, some of them making $18 an hour, which, you say that number, and I think a lot of people think, oh, hey, that's pretty good. I think 60% of them don't have homes. They can't afford a home in the city where they're working. They live in their cars.
Yeah. And this is where I don't think people realize, a lot of our viewers probably do, but of the homeless population, half of them have full-time jobs.
They are working.
Full-time jobs even. So, it's not, the homeless problem isn't exactly what we perceive. We see a lot of people that you look and you're like, well, that person probably doesn't have a job, and you're probably right, but you're not seeing a lot of people who are sleeping in their cars, who are ashamed to be in public, and they're back in some corner that no one drives by, and they're just trying to get by, and they thousands of kids in the
Yeah.
But they're putting all their money towards their kids' health care because their
Right.
kid needs a medical treatment that, you
Yeah.
know, is too expensive and denied by their, you know, so we're fucked. Society is fucked right
We
now.
are. And, you know, there are ways that we could be dealing with it. And it's not raising interest rates, which is the only thing that the Biden administration and Jerome Powell are talking about. You know, he could be putting a moratorium on price gouging the way Nixon did, right? He could shame these CEOs who are jacking up prices just because they can't stand to make less than, you know, billions of dollars off the backs of their workers. He's doing nothing. We could limit the ability for companies, especially, to buy up rental units or single homes, right? I mean, that whole scam with Zillow, where part of the, and I think it's in conjunction with Blackstone, is by mapping out the prices of houses and the comps in one neighborhood, they can go in with cash and buy up houses at the cash value or even a little bit more, jack up all the prices, and then rent those out to people, because there's no way, unless, you know, as a single family, that you're ever going to be able to compete with a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, and even on a smaller micro level, you know, nobody should be able to own 10 homes that aren't in use, you know. So if you get these are precious resources in the world that we live in. It's like owning a forest. It's people need to live, and you're buying up you're making it harder for everyone to live by you having 10 homes where you can jack the price up and make everyone's life miserable. I mean, we're going to have to be paying for water soon, you know, like.
Oh, but we are, right? Like, they're poisoning our water with they have deregulated all of these chemicals that then fall into our water supply. And then Nestle and all these disgusting companies have bought up water and sell it back to us, while the same plastic that they use to bottle the water that poisons our environment. I mean, it's like this horrific snowball cycle.
We're literally becoming every sci-fi thing where they're selling air, clean air. It's just a matter of time, because look, clean air matters now for schools. If you're going to send your kid to a school, you might have a decision to send them to a place that's got HEPA ventilation, which protects them from COVID. Or if you can't afford to go to that school, well, your kid's going to get COVID more often.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So let's go back and take a look at what's going on in the economy. It is the top issue for voters, with Democrats facing vulnerabilities over crime and a possible TikTok ban, and the GOP risking overstepping on trans rights. The most important issue, of course, is being able to live in a home and put food on your table and see a doctor when you need to, which isn't to take away the importance of those other issues, but like and by the way, I think we can do all of it at the same time, but to see Democrats just keep focusing on culture war issues, which they do very little to enshrine the civil rights of people anyway. So that's a big joke. It's just a fundraiser for them.
Right. Well, on paper, they're the good guys in that issue to most people. So that works for them. Where you get to the economy, it's not so clear cut. I mean, they're both bad guys, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with inflation stubbornly high and interest rates increasing, there's plenty of economic uncertainty at the moment, and it remains a top issue for respondents in the survey. 31% said so, followed by preserving democracy.
Oh my God. I'm actually shocked that that's as high as it is, because I think most people understand that we really don't have much of a democracy right now, but that's amazing that it's up there. Okay.
So I'm amazed that abortion is so low. Like, they literally removed Roe versus Wade.
I know.
And
I think for so many people, just general health care, I mean, abortion affects everybody, but so many people who are poor don't have access to abortion or reproductive rights anyway. Their clinics have already closed. We've done it.
It's what's the top issue. Yeah. And, you know, when you look at, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know.
Oh, wow. Now you're going to get.
Hey. You need food and shelter.
Guy on his
all the other issues. When you don't have food, your first job is to get food. So the economy is going to trump. It's the economy stupid is a phrase for a reason, because every election comes down to the economy. It
Yeah.
just does.
And every year it's gotten worse for most working people. So
Yeah, and we're at a point where most people recognize when they say the economy is doing well, it comes back to what they ran on. Was it Reagan? Which, are you better off now than you were 10 years ago, 4 years ago? You know, and most people are worse. And if you're not worse off than you were 4 years ago, you're probably doing pretty well. It's one or the other.
Right. Yeah. US companies are now spending about 90% of their profits on stock buybacks and dividends for shareholders. That means none of the money is going to workers and none of it is being reinvested in the company's infrastructure, which obviously we see with all of these train derailments now. But I mean, boy, every time you look at pretty much any part of our infrastructure in this country, whether it's roads, signs, bridges, our public schools, you know, talking about ventilation. I mean, my kids in their public schools, that, you know, sometimes the windows wouldn't open, the air conditioning wouldn't work. I mean, small things, never soap in the bathroom. So you think, okay, there's 2,500 kids here and they're not washing their hands after they go to the bathroom. This was before COVID, like disgusting, right? But all of those things that our quality of life, our health, all of that, and we're not investing in it.
No, and look, you and I are lucky enough in a way to live in California, which is like what, the 5th largest economy in the world or something,
right?
On its own.
4th now.
4th now. Yeah, they just moved up. You're right. But like, take public transit. I live in Sacramento, which is an hour and a half ride from San Francisco, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
To take public transit to San Francisco, which I used to do, you could take a bus, which is a long ride, and it, I don't know, I think you get out of it round trip maybe $25. But to do the train to go into the city to my destination, it's $75, and I'm still not at my destination. I still need an Uber, or I have to walk like 2 miles.
That last mile problem that they talk
Yeah,
about a lot. Yeah.
But so $75 round trip
That's insanity.
to not pollute the environment. So that's your like safer.
That's 10 hours of minimum wage.
Your better option, you know, like environmentally, to get from the capital of the 4th largest economy in the world, an hour and a half away. There is no
good public transportation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've really done it to ourselves.
But where's our money going? Well, how about 1.1 trillion to military and law enforcement?
I mean, look at that. And the social programs are what, 580, what does that even say? 584 billion. Yeah. What a disgrace. Because what are we even protecting at this point? We have almost 600,000 people living on the streets. We have, most people are in desperate shape in credit debt, medical debt. Our public schools are being completely defunded. We can talk about that Chicago mayoral race where all the worst schools from the Obama administration are weighing in on the far right Democratic Vallis, what's his name? Paul Vallis, who, you know, wants to defund public schools. I mean, where are our priorities?
And meanwhile, we're bailing out a bank. Let's just be real about it. We're
super important.
It's look, I appreciate that we're not bailing out the investors in the bank, but
we kind of are, though.
The people who put their money in the bank are being covered beyond the $250,000 that the FDIC insures.
Yeah.
And why? Because they're Silicon Valley bank investors. They're, you know, Rokana, for example.
Yeah. And just think about what happens with health insurance if you're not at the gold level of your health insurance and you didn't pay for that treatment or that imaging, or, you know, all of the people who are denied treatments because they didn't pay the right amount into their health insurance companies to provide those higher level treatments. They're just told to fuck off and die. But the bankers and the, you know, the startup companies, they're bailed out.
And like, you know, Blackstone isn't a bank, but like banks are buying up real estate as well.
Yeah.
And let's show the clip on the bankers
Oh
Get
yeah,
that.
that's a good one that explains all of it. Yeah, Devin, I know. Not super happy. We're gonna get there.
The
Okay,
shots will kick in any
the
second
shots are
now,
gonna
and we'll
kick
just
in.
be
We're
a ball of
super.
joy.
Okay, this is how banks work. This is a great breakdown of what happened.
How do you think things are going at the moment?
Well, there's a great deal of international concern. I mean, we're taking a toweling, but things will sort themselves out, Brian. This is what a market does.
Well, can you explain to me how it all works?
How the economy works?
Well, yeah, what's the problem at the moment, for instance?
Well, what we've got at the moment is an international credit crisis.
Yes, how does that happen?
Well, I'm a bank, Brian, and I borrow money and I lend it out, and I charge more to the people I'm lending it to than I pay to the people from whom I'm borrowing it.
Well, who do you borrow money from?
Well, from, depositors, Brian. Have you got a dollar?
Well,
You
yeah,
know, I
sure.
borrow your dollar and I give you, there's your bank balance.
$1.
$1.
Right, okay, and you pay interest to me on that?
I do, but I also charge you fees.
Well, why do you charge me fees?
Because, Brian, I'm looking after your money. Your money is secure with me. I'm a bank. I mean, this is a very important amount of money. This is probably your nest egg. It's safe with us.
And how much interest do you pay me?
Approximately the same as I'm charging you in fees.
Oh, good deal for me.
Well, your money's secure with us, Brian, and I then lend that money to businesses, and those businesses generate income. This is how we build an economy.
Yeah. And they put that income into the bank.
They do, of course, Brian, and that builds the savings pool, and we can invest more money.
Well, who do you lend that to?
Well, to people who need credit, Brian. You see, money creates more money, so if we can create money that creates more money, we're broadening the economy. We're expanding it all the time.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. But shouldn't people just buy the can afford?
You don't need to afford the things you're buying, Brian. You need to afford the interest on the money you need to borrow in order to buy them.
And you're charging higher rates for all this?
We do hop into them a wee bit on the credit rate, Brian. We stick the hydraulics under that because it's a slightly higher risk strategy.
Do people need to be buying these things that
Well,
they can't
obviously
afford?
they think so, Brian. I mean, these things are advertised to people as very necessary, very important and deeply, deeply attractive.
Well, who's advertising things that people don't need?
The companies we're lending the money to.
So, OK, then you bought into the US subprime housing
Well,
market.
Brian, so
Yeah.
concerned are we to build a better Australia.
You helped build a worse America.
Yeah, well, that was an accident, Brian. What we were doing was investing in the international investment market.
And that's been a disaster.
It, frankly, famously, hasn't been a huge success hitherto.
Well, so what are you going to do?
Well, now you give me $700 billion immediately.
Why?
Well, because we need it, Brian. I mean, the system needs money. Imagine the economy as a body. It needs blood pumping around it, Brian.
you haven't got any?
We haven't got any money, no.
What?
Well, that's actually a great encapsulation of how the whole system works. It's insanity. They just make up money from out of nowhere to bail out the wealthiest people in the world, and they survive because they're too big to fail. The only thing I would take exception with from that is I know, of course, people spend beyond their means, but a lot of people spending beyond their means are spending it on actual necessities. It's not, yes, we are a consumer driven society and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, at this point, I think we're in such desperate straits that my edit would be, I would remove that one bit, but other than that, that's a pretty good summation of how it all works.
I mean, the 1 trillion that we have in credit card debt, that's largely people just struggling. And if you broke it down to medical bills, I mean, a lot of that is going to medical bills.
Yep. Sometimes it's going to your rent. I mean, all right. Should we move on to another cheery subject, or what do you think?
Well, we haven't told people how to get us out of this mess.
Okay.
Yet. So you should start living in apartments without windows. Sunlight is kind of one of those
overrated.
things. You want to save some money and skip the sunlight.
You do not need sunlight.
Or as literally CNN, I thought this was a parody account.
Yep.
But CNN has an article about the high price of eggs and other breakfast staples is forcing some to look for cheaper breakfast alternatives. How about ramen?
Look at that.
I
Ramen.
thought about ramen.
I mean, high price of eggs, which again is something that Biden could come out and shame the CEOs and tell them to stop price gouging on basic necessities.
He could put a cap himself on the cost of any goods relative to the increase of the inflation rate. FDR did it. Presidents have the power to stop price gouging.
Absolutely. People went from savings to nothing to debt over the last 40 years. That is absolutely true. And hey, Junior, thank you for this, JR Junior. David Graeber's amazing. David Graeber's Debt, the First 5,000 Years. Highly recommend. That's great. I know I'm trying to read everything, but I can't get there fast enough. But screw CNN feels like evergreen. Okay, what do you think?
Here's an actual parody that they got kicked off Twitter and they're back, but I've been enjoying this one. This
Yeah,
is not
me too.
Somebody's asked me if it's me. I wish it was me, but the Verts Lart Nick, which is a spoof of the Atlantic, a right-wing rag.
Your death and or disability won't feel so bad if you think about how it will benefit the economy, which is the whole modus operandi of the US. It's get back to work, help the economy, get COVID, die.
Get COVID again, leverage the last dollar you have in your savings and credit cards to pay for medical bills. And once you're depleted of all that stuff, die.
Yeah.
All right. It is a cheery show, isn't it?
Cheery. So cheery. All right, spinning.
Yeah, baby.
Well, I know we already touched on it. It'd be so, I mean, I think everything's ended. We no longer have the New York Times tracker, and we no longer have the Johns Hopkins tracker. I think only 25 of the 50 states are even bothering to report, and that's once a week. So now we are finding out, study shows COVID-19 rates were likely 40 times higher than the CDC estimates during the BA4 and BA5 dominant period in the US. I think, so many people were doing their own self-testing and nobody wants to tell anybody that they have COVID. So they say it's allergies or just a cold, but wastewater is a really good representative of what's happening. And so they're seeing that we're constantly having spikes, which is terrifying.
Everybody has a cough now. I've noticed that everywhere I go, there's persistent coughs like crazy.
Yeah. Biden just got his third cold of the season, cold. But I don't know if you noticed on that, but pretty much every graph you look at with COVID over the last 3 years, there are spikes, but then when it plummets, those baselines are constantly rising. So the floor keeps rising, which is not indicative of a virus that's endemic, because we do not have it under control on any measure, by any measure.
Right. But your average person you talk to, that's, at least if they're on the left, they think the vaccine protects them. And meanwhile, 60% of the deaths are from vaccinated people. And,
unfortunately, because we've had such poor communication from our public health department, government, whatever, they've conflated saying anything about like what we just said about that 60% of the deaths are among people who are vaccinated as being anti-vax, which it isn't at all anti-vax. It's pro-science. Yes, get vaccinated, but you also need all the other protections in that Swiss cheese model. Right. Clean the air, ventilate, mask, socially distance, test, isolate, like all of that stuff that we just dropped.
Well, and the COVID minimizers, on the other hand, take that information right there and they use it the other way. They say, oh, more people that are vaxxed are dying than not vaxxed.
Yeah. Oh, that's
obviously a logical fallacy.
Yeah. That sudden death thing. Sorry. Oh my God. I'm flipping through it so fast that I'm missing it. Way too many drinks right out of that. I think the silence from our public health officials, the CDC, our government, has really created an enormous space for
misinformation,
conspiracy theorists.
Absolutely.
And disinformation, because they have to explain it somehow. And if you're not willing to say, yes, get vaccinated, but we also need to do, and by the way, the more you talk about the other measures you have to take, the more people get vaccinated, right? There've been studies that show when you talk about it like it's serious, you should get vaccinated. people are more likely then also to mask, to test, to treat, to do all the things that you do when you're trying to take care of yourself and a society. And when we pretend that it's all over and everything's fine, then vaccination rates go way down. Even if you're a vaccine only lib, you
Right.
need to know that that message only works if you're actually trying to impart to the public how serious this virus still is.
And if you're anti-vax, fine, you're anti-vax. Okay, you probably had COVID. You have some level of baseline immunity against severe death or something, but you got a good chance of getting long COVID. And the more exposures you get to this, the more you're at risk of all kinds of vascular diseases.
Right.
You're getting scarring in all your organs from this stuff because you get blood clots. And once you get a blood clot in your organ, that doesn't heal and go away. You now have that for life in your kidneys, for example.
Right.
So it deteriorates the function of these organs when you have a clot, and that it's happening over and over again. And we're at a rate right now of everyone getting COVID on average 2 to 3 times a year.
And again, they're talking about it as though it is airborne AIDS. It
Finally
weakens your immune system. It destroys your T cells. It is not something, I mean, you don't build immunity to, just like you don't build immunity to AIDS, you don't build immunity to COVID. That's not how it works. It slowly deteriorates your vascular system and your organs. So,
as of right now, if you see where the decline is, the slope downward for the United States, obviously that's when COVID kicked in, right? But other countries have all bounced back to their life expectancy, and we're on a steady decline. And that steady decline, some of it is our COVID measures, are us not actually implementing the safety nets that these other countries have. The other part is just our healthcare system is dog shit. And our economy is crap. The middle class and poor are suffering a lot, so they're not spending on what they can't afford the healthcare they need. They can't get the Paxlovid immediately, and they're not even informed enough to know they need Paxlovid.
Right.
And
Paxlovid doesn't even work.
Doesn't work that well for a lot of people, and some people it doesn't work at all. So,
but when you don't have, and we don't have paid sick leave, we have no COVID protections in our jobs, and we don't have a healthcare system that everyone has access to. I mean, I hate that word access, but we do not have healthcare for these people.
It's left 24% of parents admitted that they hid that their children were positive with COVID. I mean, I understand parents are in really rough spots with this stuff, but social, the stigma to admitting that your kid has COVID, or because you just don't have the means to keep them home, so you must hide it, because and then that's what
you don't have paid sick days or days that you can take at your own discretion from your own employment, so you can't stay home with your kid. And then I think a lot of people probably think, well, okay, so I do that, but everybody else at the school is sick also anyway, so am I going to be the one? It's a horrible self-fulfilling system where everybody's just told to go it alone. You've got the tools, use your own best judgment. It's just a cold anyway. It's just like the flu.
And this is where if we worked like those other countries, the difference between us and those other countries that were in that chart is that we're the only country that links employment and healthcare. So you need your job. So that mom that's worried about their kid, they need that job, or their kid doesn't have healthcare. So they're in a situation where they must go to work, and they might have to hide that their kid has COVID. Right. They don't have an option. They have to keep their job, or they lose their healthcare. And other countries don't have that situation. Other countries, healthcare is taken care of. That part of it is handled.
There's also a really disgusting way that our public schools have to get funding by having kids in the chairs. So if you keep your kid home because they're sick, you can actually start getting calls about having a truant child, because they are dependent. They get money for every kid who shows up every day. So from the time my kids were little, there were these, attendance awards. And so there were some kids who were like, I was there every single day. Well, okay, but like, how many days did you show up sick? And this is even before COVID, but like, they are so dependent on being able to say, Johnny was here, so we get $75 a day for John. Like, and then when you don't show up, it hurts their bottom line and their funding. It's all tied into this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big part of No Child Left Behind, is that they were just going to keep pushing the kids through, learning or not, passing or not, succeeding or not, because of economic consequences. And then, look, liberal California, when we were first coming out of the pandemic and coming out of lockdown, they incentivized all the schools to get this money if they had got the kids back in the seats. So they're basically saying, look, if you make a situation unsafe, you're gonna get money for your school. And you know, my dad was a teacher. I know a bit about teaching, and you know, the people that end up principals and in leadership, whatever, not teachers, most of them, they're the most capitalist people, you know, because they go into that because of the money. They not everybody. I don't want to criticize everybody that's a principal or in the administration, but largely they're opportunists that become the principal and in these administrative positions in the school districts, and they have higher aspirations. They go from that to some other job, so they're incentivized to get these kids back into class. Safety be gone.
Yep.
Safety be damned. It's all
economic. It's really disgusting. I just have to say, I feel like this is a really important comment. I just wanted to say. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. That brought some cheer to the show. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. What do you think?
I mean, we
have so much more COVID stuff, right?
Is there anything that we must show? There's something positive.
This is really positive, and it's what every state should be doing. 60,000 HEPA air purifiers to be distributed in schools in Illinois. That's Governor Pritzker. That's fantastic. And, you know, that's even with people like, what's his name? Prashad, and all of the COVID minimizing experts going in talking about like, oh, ridiculous with the Corsi Rosenthal boxes. Thank goodness there are a few people. Where's Gavin Newsom on this? Like, why isn't he doing that?
They all should,
because that's the way out of it. We need to purify the air, just the way, I mean, for a while, we don't do it anymore, but we used to clean our water. Now it's all filled with lead and chemicals. But I mean, there are ways out of this as we wait for some kind of vaccination that might work, and who knows. But in the meantime, yeah.
And that's the whole point. It's not that we, you know, when people say, oh, you're going to mask forever, you're going to this forever, you got to live your life. Look, fine, but we can take mitigation efforts to slow down the spread of this, which slows down the mutations of this, which makes it more likely we have a treatment that actually slows the spread itself. We have a vaccine, a mucosal vaccine that gets in your nose. So with COVID, you build up all the I don't even know what you call it, but in your nose, basically you build up a viral load there that then spreads to your other organs. You know, it starts here and blows up and then goes everywhere. And so if you stop the virus from creating a big viral load in your nose, this
feels so sciencey.
No, I'm thinking
disgusting. No, I'm kidding.
I have other ways I was going
to go. I know, it's very like high school prom. It's a viral load. I know. We always get to that point. Always.
But they have treatments that are in vaccines and things that sprays and things in the pipeline. So, you know, it's not like us pro protection people are lobbying to do this forever. It just makes logical sense to push wearing a mask for a little longer, because these things, if we get to these things, we save a fucking ton of lives. And forgetting about deaths
and disability,
the long COVID people. And we're just learning now. We don't know how to treat long COVID. So like, stay the course a little longer, folks. Like, you know, that's the whole.
I also think this idea of like, I just have to live my life. And I mean, again, like, I know I'm the one who just talked about, you know, being inside twice in the last 10 days, but, you know, for the most part, and I'm super lucky that, you know, I live in a place that's warm a lot of months of the year so I can eat outside, be out. Like, I don't feel like it's really made a huge dent in my life as much as if I got sick and had long COVID, if I died, if my kids get sick, like, like I don't really understand the issue with taking just a few small precautions, testing before you get together with people, like all of that just feels so simple. I'm not sure why we're having to make such a big deal about all of it, but get back to work. Get back to work. Spin it.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, baby.
Let's give me a shot. Give me a shot.
Oh my God. Oh, you manifested that. Pat, look at you. You've got the power. I mean, it has been a while. Those 6 shots I had at the beginning are starting to wear off. Holy cow.
Yeah. Let's go for 3 hours today.
Lol.
Just kidding. I
You just scraped me up off the.
I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah. All right. Good. Wow. Look at us. Oh. Oh.
All right.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, that
Come
was
on. Okay.
I'm gonna remove it. I'm gonna remove it.
This has never happened before. We're being not punished, but they're like making up for the 2 weeks we were off, huh?
Yeah, we're getting like 2 weeks worth of shots
Wow. Okay.
in one
And I
show.
just like my counter is my very strong drink, but okay.
Yeah. This is like college where I'd order a shot of Jack with the Jack and Coke back.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Don't do
You
that,
ready?
people.
All right. Yeah, cheers.
Oh, can I tell you the advantage of an electric skateboard?
Yeah, please.
'Cause I looked this up because they always try to scare you that, well, you can get a DUI on a skateboard or a bike.
Oh, yeah, watch it.
And you can.
Yeah.
You can. But the thing is, realistically, like if I'm on a skateboard and I crash, I'm not going to kill anybody. I'm going to kill myself.
Right.
We know this. So the DUI charge for riding on a skateboard is $250,
Okay.
which is like 2 parking tickets. So I'm just
You can do
saying,
that.
I mean,
Do you
I'm not,
think that you
I'm
could
not encouraging a DUI. I'm just saying.
outrun a cop on your
Don't
skateboard?
give me any ideas.
Because I want video of that. I think that would be hilarious.
Do you know one of my 2 arrests was I've never talked. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I want to hear it.
Never mind.
Incriminating. Yeah, that will be in the post show. That's for the Patreon members.
I did get arrested, and one of the things I was doing was fleeing from the cops. And just so you know,
that's the way to do it.
they tackled me on a fence, and I had guns drawn on me, and ultimately I lost that battle. So,
well,
that was some white privilege stuff running.
Yeah,
from the
I know. I
cops
was going to
and getting
say
tackled.
you could have lost that battle way harder. I'm really grateful that you didn't, but good grief. All right, what
I
do
don't
we
know
got?
why I decided to share that. That didn't
Yeah, I
happen.
know.
I just made that up. I made it
Yeah,
up.
baby.
We have leverage on you. There have been a lot of really interesting developments that are then completely, it's not even memory hold because they're given no air, but about, for instance, the Cy Hirsch story on how the U.S. blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. And that is probably the biggest act of ecological terrorism. I mean, I don't know, in my lifetime, and just crickets. So this
And how can you be Joe Biden, the climate guy, allegedly, and you're expanding all this oil drilling? In the U.S., we're trying to drill in Alaska with the Willow Project,
right?
We're trying to cut emissions with all these electric incentives, but meanwhile, we're blowing up a pipeline in the water.
In the water,
just
and nobody wants to talk about it. Like, because Russia said, hey, we'd really like to investigate who did this. Nope, we're not doing it. So we thought it would be interesting to point out some of the hypocrisy when it comes to human rights and terrorism and war crimes. Why don't we start with this great piece with Jeffrey Sachs on the BBC?
The Biden administration has been strongly critical of China's actions on human rights, but engaging on climate change. Do you see that as a strategy that can actually work?
I'm not sure why BBC started with listing only China's human rights abuses. What about America's human rights abuses? The Iraq War, together with the UK, completely illegal and under false pretenses. The war in Syria, the war in Libya, the continued sanctions against civilian populations in Venezuela and Iran, walking away from the Paris Climate Agreement for the last 4 years, unilateral trade actions that have been deemed illegal by WTO. So one can make anything one wants, but we have really serious human rights violations by the United States abroad, not to mention an insurrection on January 6th in our own country, not to mention the continued massive racism, white supremacism, and abuse of incarceration of hundreds of thousands of people in the U.S., Black, African-American, people of color. So I think that the whole premise of this story is a little bit odd.
No, but sorry, I'm looking. We have to look. If I may, we have to look.
I found the framing of it not what I expected. I thought we were going to talk about climate change, which we should. But I think that the idea that there is one party that is so guilty, how can we talk to them, is just a strange way to address this issue.
Well, hang on. Sorry, Jeffrey. If I could come, Jeffrey. I'm hoping we can have a conversation. I'm hoping we can have a conversation. And if I could just say, I'm using, and what I'm saying back to you here is, we're also using the framing of the Biden administration. We're also talking from the perspective of how Joe Biden himself and those around him have talked about the human rights abuses in China. So you know, sorry, just to say,
always, excuse me for one moment, the U.S. always attacks other countries. It holds itself sacrosanct.
Oh, where'd you go? Why'd you, Pat?
Your show, Lila. You do you.
My show. Your
CEO.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yes, obviously, I love that they're like, well, no, we're just using the Biden framing. Well, that's the point. That is literally the point. You are using the framing of the Democrats to make the Republicans the evil party out here.
Yeah.
And somehow the U.S. is not the bad guy. The U.S. is the bad guy to most of the world.
To most of the world. And this was the 20th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, which we were lied into. Everybody knew it. And they just decided they were like 1 million Iraqis were killed. Thousands of our own soldiers. Their whole country was decimated. The war crimes that nobody has paid for except for the people who exposed them. Abu Ghraib. Why is Guantanamo still open? Like, we have so much that we could be dealing with here on our own. If anybody believes that we are, you know, what is their new propaganda thing? The rules-based order, which is a joke, right? Like, the whole reason that we are not prosecuting Russian war crimes is because the U.S. was advised against pushing for the prosecution because that would open us up to being prosecuted for our own war crimes. So,
yeah, and this is where the left is so fucking pathetic. The progressive, this is where electoral politics for the left is so fucking doomed. Because look at everything right now. You got COVID and Biden's failure to address it responsibly. Huge opening for progressives to come in and say, you know, this is why we need someone that's not bought by either party, you know. Huge opening. Why don't we have a Claire Daly here who's pointing out, holy shit, we need to investigate to see if our country was involved in this, because this is, you know, if you did that, it's an environmental issue, it's an oil issue, it's a war issue,
crime against humanity, it's a
the
war
Ukraine
crime.
war.
Yeah.
It's all these issues are encompassed. There's to be on the
Congress.
left and not even like suggest politely that we look at this stuff, and without you don't even have to point fingers at Biden for it. You just have to say, you know, I want to just make sure that we're not involved in this. We need to get involved. We need to get to
the bottom of it.
But you could couch it however you want, but you don't have to couch it in a way that attacks the president. But they won't even
get
do
that heart attack,
even though the outcome would give them a foot in the door to make an attack and take over the Democratic Party if you wanted to, potentially. I'm not.
I mean, I think that the example that was made out of JFK, MLK, Fred Hampton, like the example of what happens when you try to go against the whole structure of power, I think resonates pretty hard with people in Congress, even if they wanted to. But it is shocking. I totally agree.
Right. But at the end of the day, if you can't use these things to get people's attention, everything else is
there's no
people on the left waiting for a moment. These are your moments, and we're not using them at all.
Yeah. 100%. Should we take a look at what we could have if we had a Claire Daly?
I was just gonna say, let's show Claire Daly, because this is
look at that mind meld. Are you showing it, or am I?
I was waiting for you to.
Since September, the lack of interest in finding answers to who was behind the Nord Stream gas explosion has been frankly astounding. This was an act of sabotage, an act of unrivalled vandalism, economically and environmentally, and not a word, no discussion, no questions. Then along comes Seymour Hersh, the world's most acclaimed, distinguished living investigative journalist. He produces a detailed claim that the United States executed this explosion with the help of Norway. Planned months before the invasion, a Norwegian Navy P-8 surveillance plane dropped a sonar buoy on the 26th of September, which triggered explosions planted by US Navy Panama City divers 3 months earlier under a NATO exercise, and still nothing. I don't know what happened, but I want to know. This is a man who doesn't make claims lightly, a man with contacts, and I find it frankly jaw-dropping that the EU is not asking questions as to who is responsible for sabotaging the livelihoods of our citizens. I am ashamed to be a European.
I love her. That's right. Oh, we were both doing the same thing at the same time.
We're so in sync. Nick and Claire are killing it. Can we just get, I mean, how many of the...
We just need two more. We just need two more.
Would be nice. A male and a female.
Could we have anybody who brings the ruckus? Instead, we've got AOC doing,
military recruitment, and pretending it's not about military recruitment because this is for it's for college, but it's a military college. I mean, what are you doing? And it's promoting it. And she did a whole. Who cares
Instagram?
About AOC? But she did a whole
so
rebuttal.
Duplicitous. Yeah.
Instagram thing that went on for like half an hour or some bullshit.
Yeah. We should talk
it's not really military, and you guys attacking me on this are wrong because you don't have all the facts, and adults actually showed up to the event, and this is an event for kids. Well,
and by the way, some parents weren't allowed in with their kids from what I read from people who were there. That's despicable. But anyway, yes, we do need a Mick and Claire. We need a
one Mick.
We have a Shama
or a Claire.
Yeah,
we do have a Shama, but
not in Congress.
No, nobody here. Only we are the only people that hear Shama. Us on the left we choose to hear her. That's the only reason she's not being put in front of the face of anybody.
Yeah.
But Mick and Claire are literally out there getting listened to every fucking day.
Yeah.
Compared to us, our country has no voices on the left getting heard by mainstream people.
I'm waiting for someone to comment about how we're so cheery and doomy. Okay, should we spin the wheel?
Sure.
Yeah, baby.
Look at that shot. Just waiting for it.
Oh, it's a shot. Breaking records.
Breaking records. Breaking brains. I wonder how the rum and all the vodka I'm having are going to mix at 3 in the morning.
Nay's Garden, if you're watching me, Nay is the weed guy with the weed podcast.
He's very concerned about our liver health.
He's like, you got to be smoking weed. I understand it's better for you, but it just doesn't sit well with me. When I was younger,
it's not great for your lungs.
When I was younger, I smoked like crazy, and it was fun.
Yeah, same.
But as an adult, not adult, as a middle-aged man
Shut up.
with a skateboard.
All right, ready?
Yeah, all right.
Oh wow, you did. You just removed him. You took your CEO title and just like, you're like, this is my executive action. Cheers.
All right. That actually tastes good. I missed it.
Really?
Yeah.
It's going to be rough to have my bottle of wine after this, but I'll persevere.
I think we're due for a timeline.
Yeah, baby.
Calling it today. Look at it.
Okay, you are right in there.
I'm in sync. I need to bet the horses or something.
Yeah,
I've never,
for sure.
Never done that in my life.
All right,
actually,
what do
I
we
did
got?
it once. What do we
You
have?
bet a horse. We got a really good comedian. Short little timeline cleanse. Ron, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Finches.
Yeah, let's show his clip.
Now there's just certain people I have no time for. Like if you're sexist or homophobic, or if you don't believe in conspiracy theories. I understand not all of them, not most of them, but you don't believe in any conspiracy theory? You just think the government's just batting 1,000 and telling us the whole truth? That's a strong stance to take. A government is placed in charge of all of its people. I'm a father who's been placed in charge of just one son. And I lie to that nigga all the time.
I liked him. I didn't know who he was before. Whoops, we flipped sides. Wait a second. There we go. All right. I don't hear a word you're saying. And I didn't do that on
God
purpose.
damn it.
Yeah, I know.
We need another time on cleanse.
Oh, okay.
Did you guys see the Republican getting punked?
Let's see it.
Waves in opposition. Anita Dick is an opponent. Waves in opposition. Holden Hiscock is also an opponent. Waves in.
Come on, Holden Hiscock is way too simple. That's like second grade. Oh, I kind of like it when you're muted. This is fun. Just nothing.
God damn it.
You
And
don't
how do they
notice
miss that?
happening.
How do they not notice Holden Hiscock? I mean,
I don't know. That's a good one, though. That's a pretty
good job, whoever pulled that off. Well done.
Yeah. All right.
One more topic. Let's do one more topic.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you spinning?
Yeah, baby.
That's okay. That's an unfortunate sound effect because this is actually perfect for us to go out on because union membership, while it has not been as high as we would like it to be, is growing. Unions are enormously popular.
Look at this chart. And this chart, unfortunately, I could only find through 2021, but it's increasing. And it has been extremely high. We're at such a low relative to where we've been as a country and union support. But
yeah,
right now, it's really on the move. So this is why they're trying to crush unions. Well, they all act like they're pro-union, like Joe Biden, but he's actually very anti-union. And when you talk about why, it's because union people get better health insurance. They get paid sick days. They get better retirement. They get defined retirement. It helps close the racial and gender pay gap. So like compared to white men, it brings everyone else closer to what the income of white men is. Although you don't want my income. It's the average white man.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, every single demographic does better when it is part of a union, when people are part of unions. So 100%. And this whole right to, I mean, Republicans are so smart in the way they phrase things because that whole right to work stuff what did it start with Scott Walker and I don't know wherever, but anyway, yeah. But you know, because I think the test case or the person who brought it up first didn't want to have to pay union dues. So that was the right to work. That's where that phrase came from, right? Like he wanted to have the right to work without having to pay into union dues. And so that started, you know, like a decade of anti-union legislation. Yeah. But if right to work laws were repealed, workers would make almost $12,000 more per year. So it is fantastic to see that there's a resurgence in unions and in the perception of unions and union leaders. And just recently, what I think was really exciting, because I know, there's been a lot of people have a problem with unions because the leadership in unions, they often don't represent or work hard for their members. They are often working hard to be conciliatory to the bosses. They're not militant. They're not working for the people they're supposed to represent. And just recently, the UAW elected somebody, and it was sort of an enormous upset. This progressive guy, his name is Sean Fain, was just elected the head of the UAW. And he is actually talking about class war and that the enemy is the CEO. And that's a beautiful thing to see in the US, because that has been sort of verboten for years to talk about that. We're all supposed to get along. There's been a lot of tone policing and civility and how we're all, go into those meetings and figure out a way to get along. And the truth is we are being fought against 24 hours a day by the CEO class. So it's really great to have somebody now who is aware of it and who's talking about it publicly.
And it's like what they say, run for office. Well, he ran for office and won. So now we got somebody in that position that's actually against the corporate class in one of the strongest unions in the country.
Absolutely.
So where's that clip? You got it. Here we go.
Yeah.
Now we're here to come together to ready ourselves for the war against our only one and only true enemy, multi-billion-dollar corporations and employers that refuse to give our members their fair share. It's a new day in the UAW.
We don't hear that kind of, when Bernie would talk about that, and even just recently, you said that CEOs were the enemy and, you're against billionaires and millionaires. And I think that kind of talk is now being more widely accepted as we get more people really showing how disgustingly the working class has been treated by the people who benefit off the labor that they exploit.
And I think, in a large part, social media is the equalizer in this stuff. It's because CNN can't control us watching all these, their kids are, people that are in their 40s and 50s with kids or 30s with kids, their kids are watching these videos and they're not coming from CNN. They're TikTok, which is part of why TikTok is
get rid of social media.
But they're seeing all this stuff. So it's permeating through to everyone's mind that frontline employees are not, they're getting screwed, and you should be nicer to frontline employees. And if you look at the rest of the world is 10 steps ahead of us right now in all these protests. Because their news is not as biased as ours. I mean, we have one of the most controlled medias on earth.
Corporate controlled, 100%.
I mean, not as severe as China and some of these other countries, but the idea that it's not similar, because the public is so vulnerable to propaganda from the top 4 TV networks that it doesn't matter if you allow some other network that has very low visibility to say whatever they want. If nobody watches them, what does it matter? But so the French are protesting like fucking crazy right now. They cut
because they want
electricity off because they're trying to lower the retirement age
or raise it.
Raise the retirement age.
They're like spewing manure all over government buildings. So here's a little bit, and like cutting off the garbage. They're not collecting garbage. I mean, they are all in across so many different spheres of work. They are all coming together, which is pretty exciting to see. And it is infectious, which is why we're not really seeing it on any mainstream media here.
Yeah, let's show the French with the garbage.
Yeah. That is some solidarity. I don't know what's going to happen, though, because it's been going on now for what, like 2 weeks? I mean, tens of thousands of people in the streets. I think now it's also happening. It's definitely happening in other parts of Europe. But I don't know what the response from Macron is yet. And that's for 2 years. That's, I think, from going from 62 to 64. And then here in the US, I don't know if anybody saw, but what Jill Filipowski, whatever, she's one of these DNC, you know, good vote blue, no matter who, liberals, put on a tweet saying, hey, if people are going to be, you know, I'm sure I'm wading into something I shouldn't, but you know, if life expectancy is going up, is it really so bad if people work a little longer? Like, way to go. Way to come in and show where your allegiances lie.
Yeah, and we know life expectancy is plummeting.
Yeah. So are we going to lower that retirement age? It should be 40 now. Yeah.
Now that we're all dying at 60, I only have a few years left. So can I get like subsidized
another scooter,
electronic skateboard?
That's right. Skateboard. I keep calling it a scooter.
Scooter. Come on.
I briefly just saw somebody upset about us putting that Sean Fain on there. I don't know enough about how the election was conducted, so my apologies if it wasn't great. I am not endorsing him 100% on any level. What I am appreciative of, though, is talking about class war and making that commonplace. Because I think as long as anyone thinks that we're all on the same side, nothing's going to change. So I don't know enough about him. I'm not waving a flag for this guy, but I appreciate that somebody's talking about class war who's not just Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, amen. I don't know anything about him. That video is literally the first thing I saw about him. So
yeah. All right. Do we have anything more we want to talk about? Protests and strikes are the way to go. Which is why that fucker Joe Biden forced all of those rail workers back on the job, because that could have changed our whole country.
Yeah, but look, electoral politics is it's a losing fight, right? Our energy should be on the strikes and these things that can force things. That's the only, and ballot initiatives. I really believe in ballot initiatives. We have the potential with ballot initiatives to assert whatever the Democrats want in the state.
Right.
You know, we can get state Medicare for all if we can pass a ballot initiative. They can't really stop us. So that's where we should go. But Biden running, he's always ran as this pro-union guy, and then he breaks the strikes. So if you really think it matters to have a Dem win and not have Trump, you should care a lot about his flip-flopping in all these positions, because it's what got him elected. His fake ass positions of supporting unions. He's not supporting unions.
No.
He's a literal scab. He forced people back to work, which is like the most un-American thing you can do, is force people not to strike.
It is so reprehensible to force people back on the job against their will after they had to work so much harder to vote in having a strike. They have to go through so many more hoops than most unions, and they did it, and he sent them back with the help of most Democrats, Mayor Pete, and all the disgusting people in their administration.
Okay, we left a lot of videos off the table. I just want to show one real short one, just to I know we should end on a positive. This is not a positive, so maybe we'll find a positive after it. But Biden coming out before he's going to talk about the horrific shooting of children again that happened. This is him speaking with the press right before he gives his speech about
the 129th mass gun violence of the year.
This is him.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband. And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
Fucking hilarious. Good times. Good times. We got to get rid of that guy. We got to get rid of him. And it can't be Trump, can't be DeSantis, and I don't know who we got, but we got to fight hard.
We got nothing.
To get rid of him. We got nothing.
I mean, what do we got? We got Marianne. We're just going to leave it on that.
Just going to leave the crickets for you.
So electoral politics is a dead end. So that's what we know. Because
get out there and dump garbage on every street possible.
Yeah. Just get your shit blowers ready because
I know. I don't know if that was that can't be the ending. That was horrible. He's awful.
Tune in next week.
Do we have anything good? Oh my God. It all sucks. It all sucks. Drink more. Love you guys. Blow that shit. Punching up. And
wait a minute. What? I did make us a graphic. I could put our graphic up.
Yeah. Let's see that good graphic.
Just end on our graphic. This is not fine.
Yeah. Everything is not fine. We need that coffee to have a lot of good stuff in it. I have a coffee mug that says, "This could be wine."
Yeah, I'll have to up the graphic with some hard alcohol on the scene. Maybe the plume of smoke for Nay's Garden and the marijuana people. Maybe it should be a plume.
Yeah, exactly. All right, folks. Thank you for hanging out with us again. We love you guys. Glad to be back, and keep punching up. That's all we got. Cheers.